Think you know what a perfect Hollywood marriage looks like? Think again. For nearly 2 decades, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were the gold standard, the couple that actually made it. But as of yesterday, January 6th, 2026, that 19-year illusion didn't just crack, it completely shattered. While most of the world was still recovering from the holidays, a judge in Nashville was quietly signing the final papers that officially ended one of the biggest power pairings in entertainment history. It was clinical, it was fast, and it was final. But here's what's really wild. While the headlines are calling this a clean exit, the reality behind those closed doors was anything but simple. The paperwork, which we've finally gotten to look at, shows that Nicole actually made the first move to end things months ago, citing irreconcilable differences. It turns out, while they were smiling for cameras at the ACM Awards last year, they were already living separate lives in their Nashville mansion. Fans are naturally spiraling. How does a couple go from being inseparable to legally dissolved in a matter of months? The truth is, the signs were there if you knew where to look. From Nicole's solo appearances to Keith's cryptic lyric changes on stage, the writing wasn't just on the wall, it was being broadcast to anyone paying attention. And while they've managed to keep the public fighting to a minimum, the details of the settlement itself reveal a much more calculated and cold separation than anyone expected. What's even more shocking is how they've decided to handle the one thing that usually tears these massive estates apart: the money. You'd think a $300 million fortune would lead to a years-long legal war, right? Wrong. They walked away with a $0 alimony agreement that has experts stunned. But as we're about to see, the financial piece came at a very high price, especially when it comes to who actually gets to keep the kids. Because the custody breakdown, that's where the real story begins to leak out.
When you hear the phrase $300 million divorce, you usually expect a bloodbath. You expect lawyers in $5,000 suits arguing over who gets the private jet or the beachfront property in Malibu. But with Nicole and Keith, the financial documents reveal something much more calculating. They've managed to pull off what experts are calling a $0 settlement. As of the final ruling yesterday, neither star will pay a single cent in alimony or spousal support to the other, not one dime. How is that even possible after 19 years? The secret is buried in the Nashville court filings. According to the documents, both Nicole and Keith reported a baseline monthly income of over $100,000 each. Now, we all know they earn way more than that from movies and world tours, but by capping their official court income at that flat rate, they effectively neutralized any legal claim for support. It's a classic power move, proving that neither needs the other to maintain their lifestyle. But the real shocker? The child support. In most divorces, the parent with less custody pays the other to help raise the kids. But in this case, the amount ordered for child support is exactly $0. The filings reveal that Keith has actually prepaid his entire share of the girls' future expenses. We're talking private schools, nannies, and extracurriculars, all the way until they graduate high school. It's as if he wanted to settle his debts and clear his conscience in one lump sum before the ink even dried. Even their possessions were handled with a cold, surgical precision. The settlement actually lists things as small as airline points and hotel loyalty rewards. Everything, from the cars in the driveway to the points on their credit cards, was divided based on who had them in their possession at the time of the split. It's a what's mine is mine agreement that suggests this wasn't just a breakup, it was a total financial decoupling. They didn't just split the assets, they erased their shared history of their wealth. But while the money was easy to divide, the custody of their daughters was a different story entirely, and that's where things get truly lopsided.
If you think a $300 million net worth is impressive, the actual cash flow behind the scenes is what's really making heads turn. When the final divorce decree was handed down in Nashville on January 6, 2026, most people were looking for drama, but the real gold was found in the fine print of a mandatory child support worksheet. And what it revealed about Nicole and Keith's lifestyle is almost hard to wrap your head around. The court documents officially listed both Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban as earning over $100,000 per month. Now, let's be real. For an Oscar winner and a global country superstar, that number is likely just the floor of their earnings. But by reporting this specific amount to the court, they did something brilliant and cold. They made child support completely irrelevant. Since both parents are bringing in six figures every single month, the judge ruled that neither party owes the other a penny for the kids' daily lives. It's a level of financial independence that most people can't even fathom. But wait, there's a catch. Even though the official child support amount is listed as zero, the secret to how they're staying so amicable is hidden in how they've split their expenses. While Nicole isn't getting a monthly check from Keith, the filings show that Keith has essentially prepaid for the girl's entire future. We're talking high-end private schools, elite nannies, and every travel expense for their daughters, Sunday and Faith, all the way until they hit adulthood. It's a clean break designed to ensure they never have to talk about money again. Even their everyday perks were carved up with military precision. The agreement goes as far as detailing who gets the frequent flyer miles and the hotel loyalty points. It sounds petty, but when you spend your life in five-star suites and private jets, those points are worth a fortune. By settling this now, they've ensured that there's no reason for a future legal battle. But while the money is perfectly balanced, the way they're splitting their time with their daughters is anything but equal. In fact, the custody arrangement is so lopsided, it's raising serious questions about what really happened in that Nashville home. If the money side of this divorce was a cold business deal, the custody arrangement is where things get truly emotional and a little bit mysterious. When the Nashville court finalized the split yesterday, the numbers on the page left fans stunned. Nicole Kidman was granted primary residential custody of their two daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, for a staggering 306 days a year. That leaves Keith Urban with just 59 days. Let that sink in for a second. In a 19-year marriage that everyone thought was a partnership of equals, one parent is now legally restricted to less than 2 months of time per year. The schedule is brutal. Keith is allotted parenting time only every other weekend, from Saturday morning until Sunday evening. No long summer breaks, no shared weeks, just a few dozen weekends scattered throughout the year. It raises a massive question. Why would a father who has always publicly put family first agree to be a part-time parent? Some insiders suggest this was a logistical necessity. Keith is currently back on the road for his High-End Alive world tour, and his schedule simply doesn't allow for a 50-50 split. But others aren't so sure. Reports have surfaced that Keith is hurting and missing his kids terribly, struggling with the harsh reality that his family life has been completely blown up. If he's so devastated, why didn't he fight for more time? There's a theory circulating that this lopsided deal was the price Keith had to pay for a clean exit. By giving Nicole primary control, he avoided a public trial that could have aired even more irreconcilable differences than the ones we already know about. And there's one more detail in the documents that makes this even more intense. In the event of any major disagreement about the girls' lives, whether it's their education, their health, or where they live, the judge gave Nicole the final decision-making authority. In the eyes of the law, Nicole Kidman isn't just the primary parent, she's now the ultimate boss of the family. But as it turns out, the court also had to step in and give them a very specific set of rules on how to talk to each other, and it's called the muzzle clause. When the final decree was signed in Nashville on January 6, 2026, most people were focused on the bank accounts. But if you look deeper into the parenting plan, you'll find a clause that's far more telling about the actual state of their relationship. The judge didn't just sign off on custody. They issued what essentially amounts to a legal gag order on how Nicole and Keith interact with their kids. Specifically, the court mandated a no bad-mouthing provision. Now, on paper, this sounds like standard legal boilerplate, but in a high-profile divorce like this, it carries massive weight. The documents explicitly state that both Nicole and Keith must encourage each child to continue to love the other parent, and more importantly, they are strictly prohibited from making disparaging remarks about each other in front of Sunday and Faith. Think about that for a second. These are two of the most polished professionals in the world. They've spent 20 years perfecting their public image. So why would a judge feel the need to put a be nice rule into a binding legal contract? It suggests that the irreconcilable differences weren't just about busy schedules or career moves. It hints at a level of underlying bitterness that the court feared might spill over into the girls' lives. And the rules don't stop at just talking. The gag order extends to social media and even their inner circles. They were both ordered to attend a mandatory parenting seminar within 60 days of the initial filing, a class designed to teach exes how to co-parent without toxic behavior. For a couple that the world viewed as relationship goals, being ordered by a judge to learn how to play nice is a humbling and frankly shocking reality check. It's a protective wall built around their daughters to ensure they aren't caught in the crossfire of whatever truly broke this marriage. But as we're about to see, even a legal gag order couldn't stop the rumors from flying about what or who really came between them.
While the court papers cite irreconcilable differences, the court of public opinion has a very different theory, and her name is Maggie Baugh. If you haven't heard the name yet, you need to pay attention, because this 25-year-old guitar prodigy has been thrust into the center of a $300 million divorce storm. Maggie isn't just any musician. She's a utility player in Keith's band, and for the last year they've been inseparable on his High and Alive world tour. But it wasn't just their professional chemistry that started the whispers. It was a move Keith made on stage that many are calling the ultimate betrayal of Nicole. In a viral moment that has been scrubbed and reposted across social media, Keith was performing his hit song, The Fighter. Now you have to understand, this song wasn't just a radio hit. Keith has gone on record saying it was a vow to Nicole, written about their early days when she needed him to protect her. But during a show just days before the divorce filing, Keith did something unthinkable. He looked directly at Maggie Baugh, pointed his finger, and swapped the lyrics. Instead of singing, "Baby, I'll be the fighter," he sang, "Maggie, I'll be your guitar player." The crowd went silent for a split second before erupting, and Maggie herself posted the clip with the eyes emoji, asking her followers, "Did he just say that?" To many fans, this wasn't just a spontaneous lyric change, it was a public outing of a new romance. Insiders have claimed that Nicole was shaken by the video, and the timeline certainly fits. Within 48 hours of that performance, the divorce papers were finalized behind the scenes. The speculation only intensified when Maggie released a new track titled "The Devil Win," featuring lyrics about fighting temptation and being at a burning edge. While Maggie's camp insists her relationship with Keith is strictly professional and that she actually has a boyfriend back home, the Other Woman label has been hard to shake. Whether it was a genuine affair or just a highly inappropriate public flirtation, the damage was done. It seems Keith was ready to be a fighter for someone else, leaving Nicole to find her own path forward, which leads us to her shocking secret move to a different continent. While the divorce papers were being shuffled in Nashville, Nicole Kidman was already scouting a literal escape route 6,000 miles away. In a move that signaled the end long before the public knew, Nicole was spotted touching down at a private airfield in Cascais, Portugal. But she wasn't there for a vacation. According to leaked reports from Portugal's immigration agency, Nicole officially applied for solo residency in the country. And the detail that has everyone talking? Keith Urban's name was nowhere to be found on those documents. At the time, reps tried to brush it off, claiming Keith was simply too busy on tour to attend the mandatory in-person appointments. But looking back now, the timing is chilling. Nicole wasn't just looking for a summer home, she was looking for a new home base. She's reportedly set her sights on a massive property in the Costa Terra Golf and Ocean Club, an ultra-exclusive enclave often called the Hamptons of Portugal. This isn't just luxury, it's a fortress of privacy where her neighbors would include the likes of George Clooney, Paris Hilton, and even Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Insiders say Nicole has been craving a fresh start, away from the suffocating spotlight of Hollywood and the painful memories of Nashville. Portugal offers her something the U.S. can't, a chance to raise her daughters in a high-security, celebrity-safe haven where she can disappear into the Atlantic coastline. But the fact that she moved forward with these life-altering plans entirely on her own tells you everything you need to know about the state of her marriage at the time. While Keith was performing to sold-out crowds in the States, Nicole was reportedly touring $4 million beachfront lots and meeting with European lawyers. It's a bold, solo power move that suggests she had already checked out of the relationship months before the judge signed that final paper yesterday. She wasn't just ending a marriage, she was building a new kingdom. And as 2026 begins, it seems Nicole Kidman is ready to leave the wreckage of her past behind for a very different kind of future. But is this a peaceful new chapter, or just a very expensive way to run away?
As the dust finally settles on the January 6, 2026 court ruling, the world is left looking at two very different paths for Hollywood's former golden couple. On one side, you have Keith Urban, who rang in the new year on a Nashville stage, noticeably ringless and surrounded by the high-energy chaos of a world tour. But on the other, you have Nicole Kidman, who chose to mark the start of 2026 with a rare, quiet glimpse into her private life. She shared a silhouette of herself arm in arm with her two daughters, Sunday and Faith, looking out over the water in Sydney. The caption was just 5 words, "Looking forward into 2026 XX." No mention of the divorce, no mention of Keith, and certainly no mention of the rumors. It was a clear message. Nicole is choosing peace over the noise. But can you ever truly have peace when a 19-year life is reduced to a 59-day visitation schedule and a $0 settlement? While the court papers call this a success because it was finalized without a public brawl, fans are left wondering if the clean exit was just a very expensive way to bury the truth. Nicole is reportedly moving ahead with her life in Portugal, seeking a sanctuary far from the Nashville home where her marriage crumbled. Meanwhile, Keith continues to dodge questions about his guitar player and the lyrics that started a firestorm. It's the end of an era for a couple that defines stability in a town known for temporary romances. But maybe that's the real lesson here. Even with $300 million, a global reputation, and nearly 2 decades of history, the perfect marriage can still end with nothing more than a few signatures and a judge's final stamp. So what do you think? Was this 19-year run a success that simply reached its natural end, or was the perfect marriage an illusion all along? Is Nicole really looking forward, or is she just running away from the wreckage? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the stories the headlines won't tell you.